Hey there, Bible buddies. I've got another Bible review for you today. And this one is a Holman King James Version Bible, and this specific one is a Jewel 16MO Clearface edition. Now, Holman did produce Bibles back in the day. You don't see them very often, but they did make Bibles back in the day. It's just their product lines were fairly small. They didn't have quite the numbers of different editions that, say, Oxford did. They did produce a fairly kind of steady line of Bibles. You know, you have some RSVs, KJVs. You've got different sizes, pocket New Testaments, but it's absolutely nothing like it was with Oxford. So the Jewel 16MO is one that you're going to see pretty regularly. It's just a pretty standard edition that Holman had produced back in the day. So we'll go ahead and take a look at this one. And this one is a very nice edition. I did dress it up just a little bit, so you're going to see some custom stuff that wasn't initially originally on there. But aside from that, it's still unaltered. And actually, this is a fairly clean edition, other than the name and print there on the cover. So we have this very nice red French Morocco leather. I don't know how well you can see. There's just an extremely fine grain to it. It's a very fine grain. There is a little perimeter line on the edge there. And we do have Jean M. Cox imprinted on the cover. Thank you, Jean, wherever you are, for your contribution to the channel. But otherwise, just a clean presentation of the cover. Very nicely done. On the spine, we have Holy Bible, references, concordance, and then Holman. And there are, and I don't even know how well you guys can see them because they're so light. There's some like rib indications, but they are like barely in rib indications even. It's almost like somebody had a thought of putting on some spine ribs, like, that's good enough, you know? Maybe just a very light rolling of the tool to kind of indicate them where they would have gone. But it's all right because it kind of goes with the theme, because this is a very nice, like clean cover in the sense that there's not much going on, which is appreciated. We do have the back leather there and the little perimeter line that continues around the back, but it's just very nice leather. You know, like I said, very fine pattern. We do have, what do we have here? Red and yellow head and tail bands. We'll start on the bottom. Why not, right? Yeah, we do have red and yellow head and tail bands, and it's kind of a unique pattern. You don't see it very often. I don't even know if the camera can see down in there, but it's like a very fine little kind of segmentations between the red and the gold. These are two ribbons that I swapped out. I don't know what it had originally, and I don't have it marked. No, I do have it marked. It was originally had a red single-sided satin ribbon. So I pulled that out for some reason, whatever reason. I think it was, if I remember correctly, I think it was like a very narrow ribbon. And I wanted to do red and gold because that's kind of the theme of the Bible. Obviously, you can see the red and the gold. So it is a red double-sided satin ribbon and a gold double-sided satin ribbon. There's page edge gilt, and it's fairly nicely done. You can see a nice shine there. However, I boogered it up. So if you notice, there's no, like, there's a wonderful luster there, a very nice shine here. But then here it's kind of flat. And then on the top, it's nice and shiny again. And that was me. I wanted to add art gilt to it, and I wanted to do a yellow art gilt because I'm like, let's make it extra yellow. Let's see what yellow would do. And I went out and bought like a specific tin of art gilt in yellow, and I'm probably never going to use it again. So now I'm just going to have it like collecting dust in my house forever. But I wanted to add yellow art gilt to it, and so I did. And you really can't tell the difference. It doesn't look much difference other than the gilt kind of getting a little dull on the long edge here. So woo, I wouldn't recommend doing yellow art gilt. Maybe if you had some kind of I don't even know, maybe like an ultra, maybe like kind of a blue tint paper, or maybe just like a very white paper. I don't know. Or maybe if you just wanted to do the page edges, say you had maybe like a green imitation cover and there was no color on the page edges, you might do like a green and yellow, or maybe like a brown and yellow or something like that to kind of mimic a gilt. That might be a good idea. But as far as like yellow under gold, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not going to do you any favors. So take a look at the inside. I'll show you the corner work there. And then it is stamped with French Morocco leather. And I did add these end sheets. Now, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there is a little bit of gold running through these end sheets. And I'll put a link down below if anybody is looking for fancy end sheets like this. I used a company called Mulberry Papers, and they're absolutely amazing. They get basically a bunch of handmade papers from all over the world. So they have like just all kinds of unique and weird stuff. Some stuff they regularly stock. Some stuff is like really, like they get a batch of it in, and once it's gone, it's gone. So I just kind of scrolled through it one day and found a bunch of stuff that I liked, and I ordered it up, and I mean, they're just really amazing papers. So, but I use them on the back as well. Nice and cool. I mean, it matches that whole red and gold theme. Show the corner work there too. Again, for whatever it's worth. And we'll get into the Bible. And this end sheet is kind of stiff. One of the things that I do, I don't know how other people apply their end sheets. I don't go around like asking, hey, what do you do to apply your end sheets? So I basically glued down the end sheet to what was there, and you can kind of see it was like a red synthetic material. It's kind of showing through the bottom there, but it was just like a red kind of vinyl paste down. So now this sheet is very thick, which I guess will be good for durability of the Bible. I'm assuming, I don't know, but it's very thick and cumbersome. Then we have a blank sheet there. Then you have your presentation page, again to Jean May Cox. So we'll keep going. We have the, what is this, the Holy Matrimony. Man, this is a hard font to read, isn't it? Here, take a look. Look at that. It's very Gothic. Very, maybe not Gothic, or Renaissance, maybe? I don't know. Kind of hard to read. But a nice design, very unique. And again, it's got the red and gold theme, so I certainly appreciate that. It'll carry through. You have your family records pages. Now, one thing to note is that this paper is like, this is coated paper. So you have to be very careful with what you use to write on this. Any sort of like, I call it dry ink. I don't know. Any sort of ink probably isn't going to work out for you. You probably have to use like a marker in order for it not to smudge. So just something to be aware of. I know that some Bible manufacturers nowadays still use this kind of a shiny paper on the presentation pages, and I have no idea why, because you're just asking to smudge what you're writing. I feel like it should be adult paper or matte paper, but that's just me. Then you have kind of a thick sheet here that is not glossy. It's just kind of a matte finish there. And then you have your title page. And we have Simplified Pronouncing Edition, the Holy Bible, Old and New Testaments. Testaments? What did I say? Testaments? Yeah, it's been a day. Then at the bottom we have our information there, and we can see that it is a verse reference jewel, 16MO Clearface. And so Clearface is the font, the jewel is the model, and then the 16MO is the size of the paper, and it does have verse references. So we'll see those references there in a minute. It was produced by the Holman company, AJ Holman company, and then this one does specify that it has India paper, and it was printed in the USA, which is excellent. So let's go. I'm excited now. All right, here's the back copyright page with a little bit of information there. 1942 it looks like, but there's also a date here of 1949. So I'm not too sure. Let's see if it was dated when it was given to her. Jean. Like 1967. So I'm not too sure. Maybe there'll be a date code somewhere in the back, but I doubt it. I think there's just a product code. So we have a explanation of the references, which was nice, and it does look like they use the stars, which is super neat. If you guys have never seen that before, I might have mentioned like one Bible that had it here on the channel before, but they put these stars in the Old Testaments, and goodness, they put these stars in the Old Testament. There we go, Testament. To indicate prophecies that reference Christ, which is awesome, because if you're reading the Bible for the first time, you're not going to pick up on that stuff. So it's just kind of a little pointer, like, hey, check it out. And I'll let you guys see the other notes here about the edition. You can pause it if you want to read it. And then we have our table of contents. And it gets right into it. I mean, like literally right into it. And then we have the first book of Moses called Genesis. And we'll zoom in here. And apologies if I said this was a center column reference. I don't know if I said that before, but it's not a center column reference. It's an end of verse reference. So you can see that here. It is a double column verse by verse. We do have a double line drop cap. Let me turn the page so maybe I can point them out a little bit better. Get into it a little bit. So yeah, double column, verse by verse, kind of standard King James fare. There is Pilcrows that they're using. They do have the double line drop caps. Oh, that's interesting here. We have the date stamp. So this right here does say BC 4004. So it is kind of dated here for this, pertaining to this this area's era in time. Then we have the book and the chapter numbers up in the top outer corners, and then in the gutter we have the running headers. And again, it is a end of verse reference. So I don't know if you guys have seen end of verse reference before. That's something that's not done very often, and I can understand why, because it gets kind of confusing. I mean, I guess it's easy because you finish the verse and it gives you the references right there. So there's no, there's no back and forth. It's not like you're coming here to the center column and then back up, or you're going to the bottom of the page to come back up. There's none of that. It's right there, kind of convenient in that regard. But the cross references do get very tiny, squeezed in there. And I would imagine this would be like an abridged set of cross references, only because you're working with really limited space. You've just kind of got the space at the end of the verse there. So I'll keep going through. Very nice. It's just a very nice edition. The jewels, again, the jewels are common, and they're nice. I don't, French Moroccos, I think you do even see the French Moroccos pretty regularly. So it's not like this isn't like a super rare edition. I mean, it's a super rare edition because I dressed it up. but like normally these are pretty easy to find. But if I remember correctly, I think that they did do many versions of the jewel. So there's some with end of verse references. I think they do have some with center column references. They might call it a different name though, but I have a few other Holmans around, so at some point we will we'll get into them, and you guys can come along with me for the journey that is Bible reviews. Oh, I went too far. Look at that. I was busy talking, busy chatterboxing it. Let's go back to the Psalms, and there's no kind of poetic format or anything like that. But I will show you the paper because it is India paper, and it does have a very like a minimal hint of show through there, but very nice presentation. I will say though that, I don't know if it's this paper that's oxidized, or maybe if originally it kind of had like a slight kind of like yellow color to it, like a cream color. I have a feeling it might be a cream color because it doesn't look like oxidized paper does. Oxidized paper to me turns kind of like more of a brown hue when it oxidizes, whereas like this creamy paper kind of has more of like a yellowy kind of color to it. So to me, this looks just like it probably would have looked when it was first produced. Not that it's aged, although it is aged. You know what I'm saying. All right, let's go to the New Testament title page, if we can find it quickly. So we have the end of the Old Testament. I don't know why I'm having such a struggle with that. And then we see it down here. It's dated to BC 397, and then exclamation point. I'm not sure what the exclamation point is. Maybe that just means maybe the end of it all. I don't know. Maybe it explains it in the opening. I don't know. And we have our New Testament title page right there. And then, like, I haven't done Bible reviews in so long. My fingers forgot how to turn pages so quickly and so accurately. Then we have the Gospel according to St. Matthew, and we get to chapter 5. We can see. Well, we're not even in chapter 5. Let's go to chapter 5 and 6. Or close enough. But we can see basically it's a black letter text. There's no red letter here, which is a shame. It would have been nice to have a red letter with this nice red and yellow design, but beggars can't be choosers. And I know some people prefer black letter, so black letter. Let's keep going. We'll get to the end. I don't know how much there is in the end. Ooh, it does look like quite a bit, actually. So here's Revelation. And there's the end of the New Testament. And it says AD 96 when it was written. And they're using the kind of the further date. I know sometimes people will say maybe it was written a little bit sooner, but they're using the more extended date. Then you have your Bible Dictionary Concordance. I'll turn that. Cross references to selected subjects. I'll show you guys that. And then words likely to be misunderstood, obsolete, or ambiguous. Look at this. Okay, I'm going to pull this in tight, and you guys can pause this, because I feel like this is a nice reference for anybody at any time, especially if you're using the King James Version. Because these are words that are probably changed in meaning, or they're no longer used, or what have you. And sometimes if you're not familiar with the King James Version, or if you didn't grow up on it, those words might be a little confusing to you. Like the table of the, what does my son say? I think my son says the shoon bread, or something like that. The shoe bread. That's what he says. Table of the shoe bread when he reads it. So yeah, I can understand. It might be a little confusing. But then we do have our dictionary concordance, and I'll zoom back in for you guys here and do a manual zoom. You guys can see some of the entries there. But I think that's going to be the bulk of it. It's just that dictionary concordance. We'll come back a ways. Barabbas, child, Corinth, government. Let's keep going. Whoop, almost too far. So there we have Zur at the end, and then we have for today and every day selections from Old and New Testaments. These are favorite readings. And the Beatitudes. So these are a little bit more standardized helps. And the one thing I will give Holman is Holman always had like really, or still has, I mean, just like really useful helps for beginners. So, as a beginning Christian, you're going to have like, well, what are the Beatitudes? And if you go back here, it'll point you right in the direction of them, right? Or like of the miracles, or I don't know. They always have really beneficial helps concerning prayer or parables, miracles. Did I miss that? There we go. Sentence prayers, prayers from the Old Testament, the 23rd Psalm, the Lord's Prayer, so it just has them listed right here, the Lord's Prayer again. So that's pretty interesting. So I have it from the King James Version of 1611 for the Lord's Prayer, But then they also have from George M. Lamsa's translation from the Aramaics. And actually, I have the Lamsa. I have to review it at some point. But in the Lamsa edition, let's read it. It says, Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Let thy will be done, as in heaven, so on earth. Give us bread for our needs from day to day, and forgive our offenses as we have forgiven our offenders. And do not let us enter into temptation, but deliver us from error. Because thine is the kingdom of heaven, and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. I kind of stumbled through that. Forgive me. I'm used to the King James Version, so that's what I grew up on and learned it on. So I was ready to spat off the entry right above it. But we have some more helps and stuff. It's just so interesting. Benedictions, look at that in the Old Testament. Lots of good stuff here. Lots of really good stuff. Holman really just knocked it out of the park with that sort of thing. Morning prayers for the day. Different evening prayers. A little bit on tolerance there. Yoink. And just some more prayers for comfort and that sort of thing. Then we have the New Biblical Atlas with index and a list of maps. Quite a list there. And a very small list. Small as in font size. Oh, yeah, and then there's more. And then we get to the maps. And the maps are very colorful. But I don't mind them, because even though they're colorful, they're very easy to read. They're not overly cluttered. There you go. And a few more. Quite a few more. I can turn the page. I'm telling you, I gotta break my thumbs back in and my fingers so I can flip pages again more easily. I feel like I'm working with a couple hot dogs or something like that. And we have the end of it there, the last map. This one's a little, you get a little bit of that kind of topographical detail, and it kind of makes it a little hard to read, but still not too bad. Then we have the model number there. It's A500X, and you will see that model number A500 quite a bit, pretty regularly. So, and then just the end of it. So, not a bad edition. Very nice. I mean, very nice cover, nice text, nice paper, nice overall. I very much regret putting that yellow art gilt on the page edge. I don't even know if you can tell. Like, really, I mean, look at that. I mean, I guess it looks a little bit darker, right? A little bit, but when I first applied it, the first thing I thought is, well, that didn't make much of a difference. So yeah, I don't think I could recommend yellow art gilt for anybody. Maybe minus the couple examples I gave in the beginning. But let's get some measurements for you. This one comes in at 8 inches tall, right on the money, by 5.5, just over 5.5 inches wide, and about an inch and just over an inch and a quarter thick. Let's go ahead and open it up. I'm gonna font measurement activated. Maybe a 10.5, about a 10.5 point font versus Times New Roman. And then for the lowercase, yeah, it's about a 10.5 point font all around. So about a 10.5 point font versus Times New Roman for this excellent reader. And this to me would make a good reader because, you do have your cross references there, but again, they're at the end of the, kind of at the end of the line. I don't know, maybe that might make it confusing for some people. If you're a fan of end of verse cross references, I know some people I'm sure are, this would be an excellent option for you, certainly. Yeah, very nice edition. Bible Buddies, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them down below. If you could, do that YouTube stuff. I don't even want to say it anymore because I feel like YouTube has been around long enough for people to know what to do if they're interested in doing it. By all means, do it. If you're not, then why is my channel the only one you're watching? Go watch some other channel where they tell you how to do that stuff. Until next time, Bible Buddies, bye.